Talk louder. Talk louder, John.
I'm not worried. I'm going to take it away so you don't get found with it.
I'm going to shout.
All right.
My honor to introduce the next governor of the state of Idaho. That's how you get an applause. Anyway, Paulette's a great candidate, and I'm sure she's going to come out on top on next Tuesday, especially if you gals all get to the polls and vote.
That's right.
And we'll do our part too, I hope. Anyway, Paulette?
She's right behind you.
Where's she hide?
Behind you.
You're sneaking in.
I live on the column.
Anyway, go ahead.
All right. Well, thanks, Senator Peavy, and thanks everyone for coming out. Also, our host. I think I seen our host earlier. I think that's him up there. Okay. I was trying to fix the sound. I'm going to do my best to yell for those way in the back. It's a big venue here. Hope the sound carries somewhat. So, thanks for bringing your babies here. Bex, I love you. Look at you. Bex broke her ankle. She was our regional representative here, but she unfortunately had a fall, so we still love her. She's still part of the team, working hard, even with her broken foot now. She's still here, doing a lot of good work, so thank you, Bex. And everyone else, you chip it in, everyone in the community chips in and does what they can. This has been a vastly growing grassroots movement across this country, it seems. People have told me that you're not just running to be governor of Idaho, but you're representing our country. And I really truly feel that every time people across the globe are sending us letters and messages and telling us that we give them hope. And I find that it's just a time that we all need more hope. It's a time and place where people are looking for more love in their life. There's so much destruction and so much divisiveness and hateful rhetoric. Just even coming down here, I see how corporations like the NRA, very corrupt groups, are trying to impact our lives. And everyone's trying to have their say, and it's really despicable when you see the corporatocracy that our country has become. But yet here we are as a people. We're fighting back as a grassroots movement. We're a collective of interests from young and old, of all colors, all walks of life, even the animal peoples, as they say. And I love how even the mountains on our side. Come on in. But the greater challenge is how we have to ask ourselves, how much do we love our Idaho? Are we able to get at least 50 to 100 more people out there? Because we have not turned out very well in the last few election cycles. More of our people in Idaho have not turned out to vote. We've been, for some reason, for so many years, unfortunately, we've been lied to and fooled. And I see a lot of my relatives and friends, neighbors, who've said, oh, this is too much for me. I'm not going to turn out to vote because no one ever represents me. And when I elect them, they're just politicians. They're there to just benefit themselves, benefit the businesses and the corporations. But none of my tax dollars ever come back to my community. And I've seen it for decades now. And while I too am frustrated, I felt that we can no longer sit this one out. We have a president who is attacking our children. We have a president who is attacking our people. And the country itself needs our help. Yeah. But as we need help, I am impressed by how many people across this country have said Idaho is going to lead the way. These folks have not even been to Idaho. They have never stepped foot in our state, but they say that Idaho is going to lead the way. And I'm thankful that they believe in us so much so that they're sharing our good message. They're passing it along. And I hear people who are here who have never participated in politics, not one day in their life, and have said, my neighbors in New York, my friends in Washington, I have a college roommate that is in Georgia who is sharing your information and has sent me your news, and this is why I know about you, because I normally don't pay attention to this stuff. And for the first time in my life, and I'm 52, I'm voting for you. And I'm proud to get out and vote for you. And some folks, they're feeling this at their core. Many people around the state and the world are having the same dreams of us being governor. People are feeling this movement because this state, our state of Idaho, while many have counted us out in politics for many years, we are now becoming the focal point. Because while we're a low population state, people are seeing all the good that we're doing. And yes, there are some negatives. You see the robocalls of negativity, hate. You see some of the hateful thing even recently with our teachers who are, talking about divisiveness and putting our students down, and communities of color that we should be rising up and supporting instead of suppressing them. But yet while this is happening, this is why we counter that with more love, more compassion. It's basically the same. When I grew up, my uncle once told me when someone was bullying myself and some relatives of mine, he says, you don't push back with hate. You don't fight back with the same kind of, angry way of being. He said, you just tell them how much more that you love them. That may be hard to do, but you are 3 times more kind. And every time I see more hate coming out of Idaho that seemingly, everyone seems to focus on and say that this is what Idaho is about, I say absolutely not. But people have realized that Idaho is much better than that. And nationwide, while people are covering our race, I'm thankful because they're showing the beautiful part of our state. They're showing the more compassionate part of our community. And I love this because you can see it right now in this room. Even when you look amongst our children. In most of our town halls, they are just like this. We have hundreds of people turning out who vote left and right, who are independent, or who've just not participated in politics at all. And then more importantly, we see our young children who are 5 years old, 10 years old, 12, 15, and they're here and they're front and center and they're asking how can they get involved and how can they do more, because they know that this investment is about their future. But to see our young people care so much, knowing about everything that's going on in the world, that is what this is about. So let's honor our children today. Let's be mindful of everything that they stand for and why we fight for the greater good. Why we must stand up for our children, because they're asking for us to defend them. These young men, these young women, our children, they're so beautiful. But when my grandparents, when they raised me to be this warrior chief to lead the children. They said, you're going to lead the children forward. This is our time. This is our window of opportunity. So I've sacrificed everything for this point, this moment in time. We are just a few days away for that moment of truth. And it excites me even more because it's nothing that I'm afraid of. I'm excited about day one of being governor, because that's where the real work begins.
Right.
I hope y'all are excited as I am, because I cannot wait for November 6th. We've had so many people turning out in these polls and at these county courthouses, and they're saying that the county courthouses are often packed. In some places they ran out of ballots already, but yet they were able to refuel and get there the next day. But now that early voting has passed, I've seen videos. I don't know if you guys are seeing lines, but even in Boise, people were lined up around the block twice. So people waited all day to vote. But I'm thankful because we have seen unprecedented numbers of people registering to vote and turning out to vote. And I'm so incredibly thankful, especially those of you who are here who have voted early. Thank you. That, and there are so many people who have yet to register and vote, but let's remind our people. If you have friends here who have said, well, I just didn't feel like voting was really going to be an issue, I didn't think my vote would matter, tell them how much it matters. Ask them, do you really love Idaho? There's a vast difference between myself and my opponent. We have run this campaign with the greatest integrity, with the most compassion. We listen to every single Idahoan in every county and every single town, big and small. Most of them that I go to are shocked because they've said, never has a politician ever stopped in our community. And I hear this from 80-year-olds. They said, we're just a drive-by county, we're just a drive-by city, town. There are often 100 people, a few hundred people, and they're shocked. But they should never be that way. They should know and expect that their representative should take the time to listen to them. And we're doing that. So we're doing right by every single Idahoan, regardless of their party affiliation. Because we're showing that once we are governor, this is what real leadership looks like. And you listen. But I'm raised by a good set of elders who have taught me better. So we have run this campaign in the best aspect and the best representation of all of you. I want to make sure that come November 6th and once we're elected, that you are proud of the work that we've done. Because while we're working hard to earn every single vote in this space, every single vote in this state, we have upheld integrity. We have made sure that people understand that this campaign is not run by corporations or special interest groups, that this campaign is run and will be won by the people. The people only. So I don't know, I know that there's some folks who may have questions. We've been going all over the state. We did another last tour. We just came from North Idaho. We're doing the last trail to the State House. The trail to the State House means a lot to us because while we started over 10 months ago in our campaign, reaching out to people every day, it's taken a tremendous amount of time, but all of that work has collectively helped us build this people-based coalition. And in this coalition, we're able to show that people are that much stronger and that much confident, more confident in their government because they're seeing that they have a place and a position within our State House too. So when we're elected, we hope that you will continue to stay engaged, encourage our young people to get involved, and as many of you are possibly in doubt of where we're going in this country, I want to offer you this bit of hope because change is coming.
Yes.
Change. And while change is inevitable, I will also remind you that we have a team that we need to get to the State House. But those folks who are running on both sides, I will tell you that I was never really a partisan individual myself growing up in rural Idaho. Because my grandparents, when they cultivated the land, they didn't care about party politics. They never told me to vote one way or the other. They said, vote for the person. You vote for the values. And when I sat in church this morning, which today is my day of prayer, so I hope everyone here will say a good prayer on all of our behalf, because it does matter. When we sat there, I was thankful that there are people who are both Republican and Democrats who have said they're voting and supporting our campaign. But I remind them that there are other people that I need to support me in this cause. And I'm very serious about that because we've been endorsed by both Republicans and Democrats. And I do support both sides. But in this case, we have a county that has an opportunity to maintain great leadership. And I'm honored and proud to stand with our great leadership here. And we have some leaders that are in this room. We have Senator Michelle Stennett. Senator Stennett has been an amazing individual, an amazing ambassador for our entire state. And I will tell you that she champions our public lands every opportunity she gets. Yeah, there is no one who will replace her. So I'm thankful that she's running again and continuing to fight for our community in such a good cause. And of course, I want to thank our other representative, Representative Sally Toon, who is here. Representative Sally Toon is going to be your greatest advocate and champion when it comes to education. She and I co-sponsored legislation when it comes to protecting our rural schools. And she was the first one to step up and say, this is what we're going to do. And she championed a rural teacher loan forgiveness bill to fight for rural teachers, because we are hemorrhaging when it comes down to how many teachers we have lost under the Little Otter administration. They have forgotten about education and forgotten about our teachers. But yet we have a real educator who stood up in the State House and fought firmly at the forefront and said no. She put her foot down and she says, we're going to defend rural education. So I want to thank you, Representative Toome. I'm huge fans, so they don't need to pull my arm about anything. But I will tell you that I'm thankful that they decided to run again, because it's not easy to be in the State House. It's pretty much, you're in a time warp zone, and you're working. It is, really. But it's incredible that they put so much time, because I'll be there late into the night, midnight, and there will be Sally doing her good work, and she's reaching to both sides, because you have to, but you need to. And she does it with a big heart. She talks to everybody, students, young people, or elderly, and I really appreciate them having this great leadership. In Senator Senate, when they reach out to everybody far and wide, it's just a lot of work that no one receives a lot of thank for. But I want to say thank you from my heart to yours, because however things turn out, I know you're going to be successful into the future, but I'm just very proud of these two women, because they've done so much. And I think it's easy for us to say that they're great champions, but I hope that people on a daily basis can see how much work they do, because when they're in the State House and they're pushing these bills across, I hope that you're able to make calls to their counterparts to push their bills, because they're representing all of our interests. So please remember that, because these are long sessions. In fact, I feel for the people of Idaho when we're in session with the supermajority, because oftentimes it becomes a waste of our taxpayer resources, and oftentimes it becomes such a cronyistic political nature that it gets to be hard to stomach. But they keep pushing through it, and they are really champs. So I gotta say, I love you both. Thank you for doing this, and I'm excited to see how things, when everything comes down, I'm excited to work out together all of the good legislation that we need to in the State House. And one more. There's one more champion that's in this room, and she's a great advocate for our community, and I really want to make sure that we get to acknowledge her, because I've gotten to know her. I've gotten to know Muffy Davis. All right. I can feel Muffy, and every time I go somewhere and I see her, I'm thinking, I cannot wait for Muffy to be elected. Muffy has integrity, and I know this because I can feel her spirit. When I drove into town here, I drove through Bellevue, and I was seeing this sign. Now, mind you, I'm a gun owner. I'm from rural North Idaho, so this is our culture. So no disrespect to anybody, but this is the way we roll. And as a gun owner who's both trained and certified, a concealed weapons carrier, an enhanced concealed weapons carrier as well, I was fascinated by the fact that Steve Miller has his propaganda front and center. And Steve Miller is willing to propagate lies. So Steve Miller, to me, is someone who does not have integrity. But this man should not be representative of our community. And I love Ketchum. I love our entire county here. And yet when you have an individual that should not be at the forefront representing our people, is trying to run for office again to fool our people, let's make sure that our neighbors and friends know the truth. Let's make sure that they understand who he is and what he really represents. Because that man has voted party line after party line, vote after vote. And when someone's willing to vote party line against the will of the people, they should not be in office. But mind you that Muffy is not running under corporate interest. She's not running under any special interest group like the NRA. Steve Miller is. And Steve Miller is willing to fool you for the sake of holding that seat of power. If I had seen Steve Miller, I would tell him, shame on you, Steve Miller. But unfortunately, I will not see Steve Miller. That man will continue to hide. I've never seen him out. Foolish people hide. But never fool the people, and that will certainly catch up to you. And that will catch up to Steve Miller. But it's unfortunate because if we ever have to see that man again, I've never seen him, by the way, on the trail. We're on the trail every day, and I've never crossed this individual. In fact, I was even at a church that said he often would go there. He was not at church. And I thought, okay, so this is not a man of the people. But you have someone truly here that is fighting for you, because I see her everywhere. And how do I know that? Because we are everywhere. And Muffy is there. And she doesn't have to be. But she's there because no one's paying her. No one's trying to buy her out, because guess what? Muffy cannot be bought. She's a champion. It's actually amazing. We're getting a lot of endorsements from people, like I said, on the left and right, and people in the community. But I really, truly appreciate you all being here. And I will tell you that the only endorsement that matters to me is the endorsement of the people. I've never asked anyone but the people for their endorsement. So thank you for coming out here. Really, truly, thank you for being here. And thank all of our business owners, because our businesses know that we have their back. We know that we support them. But let's make sure that we continue to love our businesses, buy all their food, buy all their drinks. Thank our business owners, especially our host here today. And that being said, again, all of our people who came together to help us get this event together, because we're out there every day on this trail, and we're going to Driggs later on, Idaho Falls, and then we're going all the way back to Boise. But as we make every stop, I'm reminded of what's really happening here. You know, we're meeting people who are hurting. People are suffering right now. You know, we just went to a homeless shelter, and people who are saying they're working full-time jobs, they're just hanging by a thread. And they said, please, help us. That story I'm sharing with all of you because I don't want you to forget that this is what it's about. It's not about us, right? We're willing, we're able, we can get out to vote. It's becoming more of a privilege than a right, even though it is everyone's right. But not everyone can get out and vote. Most people who are going homeless or bankrupt don't even have an address, cannot vote. Many people are struggling just to get an identification card, are struggling to be able to vote. So I tell them we're going to fight for them. We have to make sure that we get as many people who are able-bodied and can afford and can just get to the polls to vote. I just came from a community in Duck Valley who said we are over 2.5 hours from our local polling place. Many of our people cannot afford to drive there to vote. They showed up in hundreds and they could not get out to vote. So I said, we're going to do our best effort to send a bus to you to get you there. But they normally don't vote because they said we can't even afford to get out there. A lady came up to me who's a grandmother of 3 grandchildren that she raises, and she said, I cannot even afford the gas money to get there, but here she was in tears and said, but I want to vote for you so bad. I just don't know how I'm going to do it. You meet these people, it's very hard. Don't do that. I could feel you, don't do that. But it's hard. Because there are a lot of people. It's tough. There's a lot of good people, but a lot of energy. It's absorbed and it's good. But I'm thankful because the elders have reminded me, the ancestors across the way, they will tell me that you're here for a reason, because the people need us. So I'm really honored, but this is very humbling. When I meet people who tell me these stories, they tell me for a reason, because they expect everybody else to understand. But it's unfortunate because they're not going to be heard. Their stories fall on deaf ears. Therefore, stories often don't get a hold of the politicians who are trying to to take these positions. So that is what we are up against. But every time I hear our homeless and our people who are dying, I met a man who said the same thing to me. He was fighting for life just so he could vote. I've never met a dying man who said, I'm trying to live so I could vote for you.
Wow.
But all I can say is that I hear you. I hear all of Idaho. And it gets to my heart. So I'm here for my kids. I'm here for all of our kids. But I gotta say, bless all of you. Every day when I'm praying, I pray for all of us in Idaho. But this is why we sacrifice. This is why we fight. This is why we challenge each other to do more. So all I can say is sincerely from my heart to yours, because I can feel all of you in this room right now. It's incredible, the energy in here. It's a lot. It's a lot of energy. I can feel some heavy hearts. I feel a lot of excited hearts, very hopeful. I also feel some very anxious hearts. Your energy is incredible. But I thank you because it's absorbed, and we're going to take it on November 6th.
Yes.
And we're going to have, thank you. We're going to have an incredible event. We're inviting everybody, by the way. We're going to be at the Grove in downtown Boise, so I hope you can make it. And if not, I hear there's most likely going to be a great watch party here.
Victory
Michelle,
party.
right? Victory party, yes. An incredible victory party here. But I really encourage you all to make sure that you understand that we have just 2 more days. 2 more days to get out the message. This message of inevitable change. This is what's happening to Idaho. Because I want you to think of these 2 things, and then we're going to leave this with you. One is there are a lot of people in the state of Idaho who are not ready for change. They will not understand what's happening because they're already too confused by the smoke and mirrors created by the Republican Party. The smoke and mirrors that we're going to somehow raise taxes, when in fact I've spoken of nothing but cutting taxes. Or that we're taking their guns away, when in fact I'm a gun owner and I support gun autonomy. The smoke and mirrors that people are buying into. It's unfortunate, but while they don't believe in change being good for them, we're going to prove to them that, but it's going to take us 4 years to do so. And in the meantime, because of all the smoke and mirrors, you have to do your best and get to your neighbors. Remember though, that while that night comes and their candidate does not win, you have to be there for them. You've got to help them transition. Because I feel that rather than our Idaho falling prey to the country being divided, we have to get back to loving them more, being more compassionate, more understanding. Because there will be people who will say more negative things out of fear, out of rhetoric. But we have to be the bigger, better people. We have to be leaders together. So that is my one ask. The second ask is, come to election night, November 6th, this is going to be big. Because this is actually very real. Like many prayers that have carried us through the primary and many prayers that have kept us strong to this point. People wonder how I can do this. I've done this on 3 hours of sleep a night. We're traveling on the road every day. They say, how can you do all these events up to 5 times a day? How do you do this? It is through the strength of people's prayers. They are collectively thinking good for us, all across the world. And how do I know? Because I can visualize it and see it. I feel it. But I ask you to think of something for me, because this is what will help us. Because this is not about money. People think that even though they're dumping millions of money into my opponent's campaign, I mean, he just got more money from a Texas billionaire. While they think it's about money in this race, it is absolutely not about money. They think it's about all the negative ads. It's not about smear campaigns. That is why we will never smear our opponent. In fact, we could even talk about all the cronyism and the fraud and the corruption that the Little administration has presented to the people of Idaho for the last 12 years. But we don't need to do that. What we have done is spoken about the truth. And we built hope, and we built this coalition by simple bonds. And all the bonds that we create, they will not be broken. Right now, each and every one of us has a bond. If I could show you what that looks like, I would love it. But you're just gonna have to believe me. But the greatest part here is if you think in the morning what it's like for us to be governor and what it's like after we win. Imagine that. Because while everyone is having these same collective dreams, you must think about this visually. And I'm going to ask you to pray on this. You don't have to be a church-going person. This is just you within your own space, thinking about us as a people and my team, my staff, who have helped us get to this point. Just think about it. What it's like for us to be there, in the governor's seat. What do you want the State House to look like? Just think of it like that. You want to be able to go there and have access to your governor, to your attorney general, to your state representatives. You want to make sure that you can come to the State House and feel welcome, or that the issues you truly care about are going to be posted in those committees. Think of all the things that you want to see. You have to visualize it and think of this. Before you get up in the morning, before you leave your bed, I would like you to think about these things. And then before you go to bed at night, think about this again. Can you all do that for me?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's all we should be thinking about. I don't want anyone to be distracted by these rumors, the rhetoric, the lies. Don't worry about those things. I just want you to focus on the positive. You'll feel so much better. But you will also be part of the collective that is pushing us, because it's the greater universe that is getting us here. So let's keep working hard in our own ways. Make sure that we get our friends out, because I oftentimes find that it's about reminding each other too. But if they have questions, let them know that we are accessible. We have a website full of information. We have a staff who's local and in Boise and around the state who can help you. If you need a ride, ask your friends, do you need a ride? Or the folks who need assistance, let us know or step up and help them out, because some people do. I hear that some folks say, well, my friend doesn't speak English well. Can I go in? Yes, you can. You can assist your neighbors and friends. If they have a disability, you can assist your neighbor or friend. So if they need help, ask them. But let's step up in a greater way as a community, as one Idaho family, to do what we need to do. We can make this happen, and we will. And we will show others that the great legacy that others have created, like Cecil Andrews and like Senator Church, they've done so much goodwill for this state. Let's continue that tradition and move it forward. So thank you all so much for today.